Hi, today we're going to talk about how to place a wholesale order when you are a rep. So let's get into it. When you log into Candid, you're going to start off at your seller HQ. If you see the switch clients here at the top, that means you're logged in as your rep company and you're not actually logged in as the company that you're representing. You can also tell by hovering over the corner icon here, it's saying Sugar Baker and Associates, which is my rep company. And over here it says New Sugar Baker and Associates Order. I want to get into my company, Handwoven Industry, that I'm repping. So I go to Switch Clients, I click on Handwoven Industries, and that switches me over. So now it says Active Client, Handwoven Industries, New Handwoven Industries Order, and the corner widget says Handwoven Industries. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start my order, which I can do either right here from the HQ or from multiple other places in the app where it's going to say Start New Order. Doing this launches the Buyer Finder. And now the reason you want to start by searching for the buyer rather than just creating the order outright is because we don't want to create duplicate company records. And the odds are if it's, if we've got a customer list that's preloaded, they're already going to be in here. Otherwise, it's very easy to create them. So let's look up Candid Retail, my buyer company, and click search. And we'll find them here. Now, if the company does not show up, like let's say we just type in some nonsense and nothing shows up, you can add a new customer here. And what this does is it starts by looking up their website. Let's say, I don't know, hooddairy.com. We'll search for it. And if Candid can find them, it'll show up as a result down below. If not, it's going to say, okay, please contact team at candidwholesale.com for assistance. You can also create the company manually by saying, some company without a website, and you can add them that way. We make this a little bit tricky to find because we don't want we really want to make sure that if they're in the system or findable, that you're going to be able to find them. So I'm not going to create this company, but it will essentially lead you back to the same place. So let's go back to Candid Retail, our buyer, click on their tile down here, and it's going to start an order. And now this order is going to look very similar to you as the seller as it does to the buyer, with a couple of key differences. You have access to things like coupon codes, discounts, and estimated shipping costs that for them are going to appear as non-editable fields. So no one can enter their own surprise coupons. That's just for reps and sellers. You'll notice here that it says this is a draft order. Much like emails or anything else that you compose before sending, the buyer will not be able to see this order until you send the order. So you can build it as you wish. Looking over here, it shows that me as first user am the assigned rep. If I wanted to assign it to my coworker, second user, I could do so there. For the most part, you shouldn't need to worry about this. I think if your customer list has been preloaded or if you've done business with them before, it will remember who the assigned rep is. So over here on the left, you've got the order form itself, which is designed to look and feel sort of like a paper PO. And over here on the sidebar, you've got the catalog where you can begin shopping. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is add items to the order. You can either scroll down and find them. You can search for them. Do we have a kimono in here? We do. Or you can clear this out and navigate by section. This one only has a couple of sections, so it's pretty easy, but some catalogs can have a lot of sections, and that's a good way to save time. So I'm going to add a couple of these pants. I click on the image here, and I get all the product information I need over here. If I want to zoom in on images, I can, all that stuff. And then over here, it's showing me the availability. And this /I, which you see over here on the coupon code as well, means that this is something the buyer doesn't see, but you do as the seller. So I'm going to select my quantities. Just by pressing this button, I'll add it to the order. And then I can adjust the quantities either over here or over here. And it updates in both places. One thing that people will sometimes want to do if they want to recommend a product but not explicitly state the number of quantities, you can just add it to the order and it'll show up, and you can even click on the title of the variant to highlight it, saying, I think you'd be interested in these pants at this size. So now that we've done this, it's looking good, and we have a couple different ways we can send it to the buyer. The two ways are essentially quote and negotiate or pre-approve. If you want to quote and negotiate, what you do there is you click this big blue button that says submit order, and that's going to send it on to them to review before they finalize it and accept it. Usually, well, I'm not going to say usually because everybody does it differently. In a situation where you're sending something over to a buyer to review, this is the way you want to go, and I can show you that now. You're going to take a look, you're going to pick your, it's defaulting to say it's from you. You can show the details of who else is getting the notification on this, and you can add people on your side or their side, and you can, if you want, say, I'm going to CC Deborah at Candid Retail. All of this happens within Candid, but this simply sends a notification email to let them know that there's been progress on an order. Next, you'll pick the location that it's shipping from. Let's do 1234 Main Street. You can see in the background that updates the PO itself. And you can say a message, test order. You can send it or mark it as sent. Anytime you're sending an email notification, you get those two choices. I'm going to mark it as sent for now. And that is what it looks like to approve an order in the quote and negotiate process. Now you'll see the status has been updated to inquiry, and it says you're awaiting response up here. If you ever need to review the order history, you click on this messages tab, and it shows you all the events that have happened in the life cycle of the order, and you can send additional messages if you'd like. Now, option number 2, which you can do at any point. Let's just start with a fresh order. We'll do new Handwoven Industries order for Candid. Oh, it's already there. It remembers the last person I did an order with. I'm going to do something very similar, but in this case, maybe I've taken the order over the phone. Maybe we're doing this live together in person. For whatever reason, I don't need any more approval from the buyer. I have their full permission to make this order. So I'm just going to do that now. Let's say 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks like a good order for me. And instead of clicking the submit order button up here, I'm now going to click the drop down and select pre-approve order. And this gives me a slightly different box here where I have to pick the person on their side who approved it. If they're in the system, it'll have their names. Otherwise, I can say Gary Middleman on date 27. And then it just asks you to write down a little note about the approval. And I can say, order taken over phone. You can upload an attachment if you want. And you can say, I affirm that the above buyer explicitly approved this order as it appears. That's just to make extra sure you don't drive by, sell somebody something without their knowledge. Click next, and then we select their ship to location. So this is the buyer's side. No, thank you. And similarly, again, you get this email dialog where you can select who gets CC'd or not, and you can add your message to the buyer. I'm also going to mark this one as sent. And then this takes you to the approved order state. This is where the other order would have gotten to after the buyer looked at it and approved it. The paths sort of diverge, and then they come back to the approved order state. And at this point, this is where you are going to deal with invoicing and shipping, which we can get to in another video. Now, if you want to go looking for an order and sort of checking in on the status of orders since the last time you were in Candid, you have a couple of different options. The Seller HQ is where you start out when you log in, and you've got all these little quick links to orders that have been recently changed, waiting on you, in discussion, open invoices, waiting on them, and then down here a few more, overdue shipments and overdue invoices. This is a quick way to get a filtered list. Waiting on you is pretty important. That means that in this case, the buyer it's partially approved and it's my turn to update the order. Waiting on them, same thing, but in reverse. And open invoices, pretty self-explanatory. Another way you can find orders, if you have a lot of them, which you eventually will, is go to sales, and it defaults to this orders tab. And within here, you get the full list of orders. In this case, we have 156 of them. And you can very quickly search and filter by clicking the search and filter over here. And let's say I want to look for customer retail. I want to find all my orders with this customer, Candid Retail. There they all are. And clicking on any one of these will send me directly to the order. Another place you can find similar information is if you click on customers, it'll give you a list of all the customers that you've done business with. And you can similarly search and filter by name, tags, or who it's assigned to. And then here, clicking on their name will take you not just to the order, but to their detail page that will tell you everything you need to know about the customer. Including who's the default assigned rep, any sort of information like this customer, for whatever reason, gets a 9% discount every time, and any contact information that you may have for them and their order history. So you can quickly jump back into any of them as before. The last thing you're going to need to know as a rep is how to share links to the catalog and storefront. So instead of creating an order for the buyer, you want to give the buyer an opportunity to go shopping for themselves. To do that, go to catalog. And you as a rep shouldn't have to worry about this. In most cases, this will already have been set up for you by the brand. But it's very similar. The shoppable catalog we've seen in other places lives here. And you potentially have access to different catalogs and sets within them. These could be for different markets, like these could have different price lists attached to them. And what's important is when you get down to the bottom, you get this share catalog link. And so when I click that, it lets me pick which catalog I want to share. You can share my default or test for promo. Let's do default. And I copy that catalog URL. And so what this does is it sends a link directly to the catalog that if I were to throw into an incognito browser, would take me right here. And this is what your buyer sees when you send it. They get access to the catalog, complete with the filters. You can click in on products, get all the information you need. And then when it's time to start an order, it will ask you to either sign in or create an account. If they are already on Candid, like this buyer account over here, when they click on that link, very similar experience, except they'll already be logged in. So when they click on product, start order, it'll jump right to the order stage. And any notes that you have that are going to pop up for buyers will be here. And as you can see, it's a very similar interface. No ability to edit the discount or the shipping cost, but likewise, they can add their quantities. And so on. The final link you'll need to know about is the storefront link, which you can get here in the corner widget if you go to Share Storefront, or if you click on Storefront in the sidebar and grab the share link here. The storefront is a step before the catalog. So this is something that will let people learn a little bit about your brand. This is a nice one to share if you aren't quite ready to start the shopping experience and maybe want to just answer some questions people have up front about order minimums, timeline, what your collection looks like, that sort of thing. When a buyer gets this link, again, as with the catalog, if they're not logged in, they will be asked to create an account or log in. And if they are, that Shop Wholesale button will lead to the catalog. And that's ordering in a nutshell. Thanks.